Hey everybody, it's Tamara from Moogly, and I am live, I hope. It is, what is it? It's June 29th, 2021, and today I want to talk to you about how to get started crocheting a project, any project really, without the slip knot or a magic ring. Now, normally when you begin a crochet project, you use one of those two techniques. And there are some other ones out there that float around too. Some people call things the adjustable knot or different varieties like that. But I have a very, very simple technique that I like to use when I want to avoid using the slip knot. And for whatever reason, the magic ring wouldn't be appropriate. Maybe I'm working in rows and I just don't want to get that big gather right there. But you can use it in place of the magic ring as well. So why wouldn't you want to use a slip knot, right? Well, because it adds a little bit of a lump and it is a really, really nitpicky thing. But as I, got further in crochet, I got really annoyed by those little lumps, that little lump of the knot when I would be, making a garment and it came to the finishing and I'd weave in the ends and I'd have, the beautiful ribbing or whatever. And there's that little knot that I know nobody else could see. Maybe another crocheter with eagle eyes, but I knew it was there and it bothered me. Same thing for working projects in the round. Where you want to perhaps start with a chain and then join with a slip stitch to form a ring. When you do that, and you have that slip knot first, and then you work back into that ring, maybe it's a granny square or something along those lines. As you work back around that, again, that slip knot can create just a little bit of a lump there that sort of splits that, split those stitches apart and can create, for those who know, a little bit of an eyesore. Again, this is the kind of fine detail that I think only typically other crocheters notice. But I do think it's the kind of thing that can, make you feel one way or the other about a project as you go on. So I'm going to go ahead and try and refresh my little laptop here so I can see our video, so I can see if you guys have any questions. So let me just get that to load up here. Alrighty. And it looks like we are definitely live. So go ahead and ask your questions in the chat if you have any as we go here. So now I'm going to go ahead and bring in my overhand camera and we'll switch over here. There we are. Okay. So today for demonstration purposes, I am using Bernat Maker Home Deck just because it has great stitch definition. So you'll be able to see exactly, it doesn't have that fuzziness. You can see what I'm doing. And I'm using the recommended hook size, which is a USL 11 or 8 millimeter hook. This one is a Susan Bates bamboo handled hook. So normally when you begin a project, you would do a slip knot, right? You make your loop, you pull that bit behind and pull it down. But there's that little knot that I don't like. And for using the magic ring, typically you might use it if you're working in the round, but sometimes you might use it to start a shawl or something like that. But it does create that really tight gather. So there is another alternative that's, as I say, the most simple, quick tip in the world. But we're going to basically start our slip knot by creating that loop, and that's it. Insert your hook, and you can see how I've just got it looped around there. If I use my non-hook hand to hold down on that tail end, I can go ahead and start stitching. And just yarn over, and you can just pull on it to make it the right size there, and pull through for your first chain. And then just continue for however many chains or whatever stitches you need. Now, after you do that first one like this, it can get a little tricky after especially if you make a big long chain, to be able to tell which part is which. So I like to pull in my handy dandy stitch markers. You guys know I'm a huge fan. And then you can go ahead and put those under those top two loops of the V, or however you like to think about it, right there, just to separate them from the underneath loop when it comes back time to work into this chain. Now, if you're not careful and you pull on this end, it can close it up, but you can usually pick it back open very carefully. And then here, I'm going to reinsert my hook and make a couple more stitches here just to get us some room. Get this out of the way here so it doesn't change focus on us. So then, like I say, if I were working back down along it for a row, I would just go ahead and work into it as I would a normal chain, whether that was the top of the chain or the underneath of the chain. If I were doing something where I wanted to join it to make a circle, like for a granny square or something like that, I like to personally go ahead and stick my hook under that back loop. You can see right there, it's separated using the stitch marker there, and then just flip it flip that whole line right to the top of my hook there. Find my working yarn and make that slip knot, or that slip stitch rather. There we are. And now I'll go ahead and take that stitch marker out. I want you guys to see, without that knot there, when I come back and let's just start crocheting into that circle a little bit, we'll chain 2. And it's not a magic circle. I'm not closing it up in the end, so I don't have to worry about working over that tail. I would just go ahead and weave that in when I'm all done. But as I crochet all the way around the circle, I'm going to take a minute here just to get her all the way around. I'm not really going to count my stitches, just however many gets me there. Hopefully you'll see that without that knot lump, we just get a smoother circle once all our stitches are worked in there. So let me know what you guys think. Like I say, this is seriously like the simplest little tip ever, but it's great if you want to avoid that knot. If you're the kind of person like me that knot's going to bother, or if you just struggle with the slip knot. When I started learning to crochet, I didn't know about this tip, and I also could not, for whatever reason, master the slip knot. It actually came about 6 months or so into my crocheting life, and I would end up just double knotting my yarn around my hook, and it worked, but maybe that's what got me turned off of knots early on. Maybe that's what made me not ever want to put knots in my work. I don't know. So we've gone all the way around here. Just pull up a little bit more yarn so I can move here. And you can see this is where that knot usually shows up right there. But without that lumpy knot, we can really kind of work right up over that a little bit and give our stitches a little tug here. And once we've got that end woven in, you can see we just get a much smoother circle there. And of course, as I said, you don't have to be using this in the round. You could absolutely be doing this back and forth in rows. It's just one of those little things. Like I say, if I'm making a sweater, or if it's something, think for a minute, if it's a seam somewhere where you're going to maybe in the underarm or something where you're going to be pressing, it's maybe a little bit of a princess in the pea situation, but just avoiding that knot, if it makes it more comfortable and more pleasant to use or look at, is always an option. Or not always, but often an option. And it's just yarn, and it's at the beginning, so you can try it out, and if it doesn't work, go back to the knot. So here, if I was just working, like I say, in rows, I would work into it as I normally do. And if for some reason I worked into it and it was the center, let's go ahead and pull those back out. Let's say, we'll go ahead and start from the beginning. So you can see that again. I'm going to take my yarn end, just make my loop, insert my hook from behind so that the overlapping one is in front. I find that's a lot easier. And then just go ahead and make my chain. So let's say we were working in the round. We did want to use this technique. We don't like the magic circle for whatever reason. I'm going to make a couple chains, and then whatever stitches your pattern calls for, you can go ahead and make those right there in that first chain too. And you can work right into the center of the chain under what would be the back loop. You can work into it as you normally would. Again, it just depends on your project and how you want to do it. There we go. So I will add a couple stitches to here. And then the neat thing is that just like a slip knot or a magic circle or an adjustable loop, you can still pull on that tail end and tighten the whole thing up if you do want to. But now you don't have that tied knot in there. So even that is just that little bit thinner. So again, it's just another alternative. So hi, Adrian. Thank you so much. I'm glad this is a little easier to see. Native Wind, thank you so much. And Carol and we too. I hope you like this video tip. So yeah, just if you don't want to do the slip knot for whatever reason, you don't like it, you can't remember how to do it, you don't want the lump of that knot, instead, make that loop, drop it on your hook, and use your non-hook hand to sort of hold it down there. You can go ahead and start crocheting. No knot needed. This is not the kind of thing that would usually get called out in a pattern, but it's almost always an alternative if you want to try it out. So thank you, Linda. I'm so glad you liked it. Like I say, a very quick tip, but a very simple one, but I find those are often the best ones. And they're easy to integrate into any pattern or any project you want to add it to. And of course, just like a slip knot, if you don't like it, the whole thing pulls right out. So let's go ahead and come back to the other camera here. There we are. Move that after so you don't get seasick. But thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this quick tip. I hope it makes your crocheting a little bit easier and better, and just lets you, enjoy your finished projects a little bit more. So thanks again. If you go to the link in the description, there will be a link out to a blog post on Moogly, which will include this video once it's over and I can get it embedded. But it also includes the Facebook video that I did this morning where I talked about what else is going on the blog, and it's got links to all those and the free patterns that I showed and everything else. So I hope you'll check it out. And otherwise, have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.